Hello, it's day 121 of the Liberator project, and you join me here this evening in Morrison's car park. The reason I've come here is I need to get some shopping, obviously, but also I need to get out the flat because I'm getting a bit, cabin fever, being stuck in all the time and not seeing anyone. So I'll come out to get a few bits, but it's chucking it down, so I thought I'd give it a few minutes to see if the rain eased up, then go shopping. So in the meantime, I thought I'll do today's video. It's a bit of a Numan vocal bit there. Okay, well, I'm having a rest from the Liberator project because that's completely run into a brick wall for the time being. But I'm still doing these videos every day. So what am I going to talk about? Well, I could talk about a lot of things. I mean, I could have a good rant about politics or women, lots of things. But what I thought to do today is I'll talk about the Beatles. Now, the Beatles annoy me so much because I really don't like them, and that's annoying because I feel I should like them. And I'm not being sort of precious and gothic and trying to be cool here, not liking the Beatles. I genuinely don't like the Beatles, and it's very bizarre because I really like the Stones, I like the Kinks, I like some 60s and 70s music, but the Beatles just grate on my nerves. Now, I do own Abbey Road by the Beatles, and that's because Bev Bevan, who's a drummer with ELO and The Move and Black Sabbath, who's one of my favourite musicians, the guy that inspired me to learn the drums, he reckons Abbey Road is the best album ever recorded. Now, I bought it and I don't like it. I really don't like it. The Beatles, well, to my ears, it just sounds like Muzak to my ears, and I think they should have learnt better after all these years. That's it's a lot of people are a lot better at music than I am, and I have a weird understanding of music, which I'll come on to. But they rave and say how good the Beatles were and how amazing. But I hear a song, let's pick Octopus's Garden is one of my least favourite songs, and it's just like a child's nursery rhyme. I really don't like it, and I don't understand what people see in the Beatles at all. So I have an ability to listen to the same song for hours and hours and hours. I will actually just dissect it to pieces. So during the lockdown a few months ago, I recommended by Paul and Neil, I listened to I'm So Tired with the Beatles, and I spent pretty much all afternoon listening to it and trying to really get to grips with a song. And I just still don't get what people like about the Beatles. Now, let's talk about my background a little bit first. I will probably do I've actually lectured in music, which sounds bizarre because my degree is in electronics and physics, and the reason is that on my second year project, I did a lot of work investigating the harmonics of harpsichords and pianos. I was doing Fourier analysis and looking at the harmonic structure. And then for my dissertation in physics, I actually did the mathematics of music. So I looked at the sort of Pythagorean approach, which was looking at the ratios of notes and frequencies and harmonics, and then how they vary, because obviously that's in a pure system, and something like a piano where it's got thick strings, that means that the harmonics actually get slightly out of tune the higher you get up. And also it also explains why the seventh harmonic of any instrument's really unpleasant to listen to, and why people don't like the sound of bells. There's a lot I understood, but that was all from a sort of technical understanding. Now, I have a sort of working knowledge of things like keys. I don't know if I've got it. I think I might have grade 3 or 4 music theory, but it was so long ago I can't remember. But I understand basics of music, of traditional music theory, and I don't really understand things like nodes. Like I don't know what the Lydian scale is, or or keys. I mean, very, very basic knowledge of that. But what I have got is a really good understanding of harmonic analysis and how you derive the equitempered scale from first principles, and why that varies from a pure music scale, and I understand that. So that's what I lectured in. In fact, if people are interested, leave a comment below. I might do a 15-20 minute summary of how you derive music and what it actually is from science, from a psychological point of view, and a mathematical construction of it. So, obviously I'm a great fan of Gary Numan and electronic music. I've got my Numan on. So, anyway, so that's my sort of understanding of music. And I'm very badly dyslexic. I've got some synesthesia where I bleed through different senses, and I'm sort of compulsive enough that I can actually listen to the same song for hours at a time and understand every part of it, really stripping it down. So I did that till I'm so tired, and I think I've understood why I don't like the Beatles music. Now, first of all, let's go through the different instruments. The bass parts on the Beatles, I know that violin bass looks really great. I'd love one of those. It looks superb. It's not a very deep bass in the scale of things. A lot of basses have a lot longer strings, have a much more gravitas. They've got much more of a bass kick, much more low frequency generation than the violin bass. And also, Paul McCartney tends to, not only does he play the sort of quite a low note, which is exactly what you want to beef up the rhythm. He also tends to go up the neck and play higher frequency notes on a bass guitar, which I find really irritating and just clutters the music up, in my opinion. If he started an octave down and did that, I wouldn't have a problem. But the way he plays it and the way it starts, I find the bass part has got too many high frequency components for my taste. So that's one thing, and I think it also weakens the music because it's quite light. It stops the music having any bollocks, really, and that's a big problem with the bass part. Now the guitars, they've got quite a pure sound. I don't know what guitars they are. They sound quite Fender-like. They haven't got the sort of the Gibson humbucker sound, but they've got almost a clean sound, but again, it's a very, very weak guitar sound. There's not many additional harmonics going on that note generation, and when they try and rock and they turn up the distortion, all you end up is a horrible sort of a high frequency clipping on them. It really doesn't sound great. It doesn't generate enough notes. When you compare that to a proper rock band, and it's even your 70s rock band, if you go for sort of Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, their guitars, for one, I think they're Gibsons, but also they have a real weight to them, a real power, and the Beatles just cannot rock. If you listen to even Helter Skelter, which was their attempt to write a heavy song, it just sums up everything that's wrong with the Beatles. It just doesn't cut it. It's distorted guitars and it's loud, but it's got no harmonic content that gives it that weight and power. So that's another thing. Now, I love orchestral parts. I really like ELO, so I don't have a trouble with those. But then, of course, usually when they use keyboards, they use something like, I suppose it's a mellotron or an organ or something, and it's got a really horrible organ sound. Now, I love keyboards. That's, I play keyboards now rather than drums. And, a synthesizer, you can actually change the way the frequency is generated as you play it. And that's the big difference between an organ, which just plays a note. Now, whether it's a note that's got an envelope, but it's basically the same frequency that, basically the tone doesn't change. Whereas a synthesizer, the harmonic content changes dramatically. And even the pitch, as well as just having an envelope for the volume, the frequency can modulate as well. And that's something that, not so much Gary Numan, but Ade Fenton, who's the keyboard player, really understands. And Numan, who's got a great ear for music, obviously uses Ade Fenton to generate all these clever parts. I'm not sure Numan could actually do it without that, 'cause it is very technical what's being done. And anyway, so yeah, that's the keyboards done. But the biggest problem with the Beatles is, there's still other problems. I don't like the singing. It's very, very lightweight. It's all very sweet and pleasant and pretty and sickly and sugary and weak, and I don't like it. It's not that it's unpleasant, it's just that it doesn't, again, it's like you have a cup of coffee, you have some sugar in it, that's fine. If you put too much sugar in it, it just, you can't enjoy it anymore. It's just too much. And a bit of harmony, don't have a problem with that. If you listen to something like oh god, what's got harmony in it, something gothic, Sisters of Mercy, they use choirs, they use harmony parts, fantastic. I love it. But I'm afraid that the Beatles, the two harmony parts they use on the vocal don't really work for me, and also they tend to be doing the same melody, whereas if something I really like is sort of almost, I suppose, is it Bach, there's sort of contrapuntal music, I don't know the technical term. I have a background in science, not music, and what some music I like is I'm a great fan of Gary Numan, but in Gary Numan's music there will actually be one part and then a second vocal part jammed on over the top of it. So at the end of, say, Healing, that was on Ade Fenton's album, there's two vocal parts absolutely clashing, going on at the same time. But for me, that's absolutely fantastic. I love that, and I recommend listening to Healing. It's a great track once it gets going. About 2 minutes in, it's absolutely amazing. Anyway, moving on. So that's another problem I have with them, and I don't know, I don't have that problem with like the Kinks or the Stones. I don't like the way the Beatles do it. And then the worst problem for me with the Beatles is the drumming. The drumming is absolutely bollocks in my opinion. I can't stand what Ringo plays. It doesn't have any driving force to it. It doesn't drive the song forward. It's almost like little incidentals all the time. They're just little annoying incidentals that don't drive the song forward. Now, this is not about being in time. I mean, there's a difference between being in time and being on the beat. Now, the music I like tends to be electronic, which means that the beat's very, very strongly programmed, or in some songs which I like, they actually play, the drums come in a fraction early. It's in time, but what can I say, they just lead the beat by something like 10 milliseconds, really, really small amount. So the drums happen and then the music, and it drives the music forward, and it gives it a lot more energy and power, and it gives it a real energy and a beat that you can dance to and get involved with. Now, and it doesn't, for example, Fleetwood Mac, the drummer is slightly early of the beat, whereas the bass player is slightly late, and that works really well. I mean, it's very, very difficult to play their music and make it sound any good, which I know because I was in a band that really screwed up one of their songs. But and it's it works because got the immediate impact of the drums driving it forward, then the bass leaving the drums. We're talking of a few tens of milliseconds, and then the bass filling in the note afterwards. That's absolutely fantastic. So good, good with them. And so the music I like is on the beat or slightly early. Someone like Bevan, drummer from ELO, he actually always double records his drums. He double tracks them, so you end up with a really fat, heavy drum sound on every beat, and that's not early or late. That's just that just blasts the beat. So great fan of his work. That's very nice. That's his sort of recording technique and his style. They call him the Thunder God because it's really deep and heavy and got a real gravitas to his playing. But still, that's on the beat. Now, anyway, that's the music I like, early or late. Ringo Starr is probably one of the latest drummers I've ever listened to. The beat happens, and then we're talking even maybe sort of possibly getting on 20 milliseconds later, then he plays the beat. And to me, that's continually pulling the energy back from the song, emptying the song out, leaving it weak and powerless. And it's, I find his drumming incredibly irritating. It's got no energy, and if anything, it sucks the life out of a song. Now, the songs of the Beatles I like. Now, you can't really not like everything the Beatles have done. I mean, I say I don't like the Beatles, but that's overall. Generally speaking, I don't like the Beatles. But, Paul McCartney did Yesterday, which is probably one of the greatest songs ever written. You have to, there's no denying that is an amazing song. And though I think other people have probably covered it better than he did with the Beatles. But, I really like Eleanor Rigby. That's a song I actually really like of theirs. And, no Ringo drumming on that one. It's mainly on the strings, isn't it? Which I think are really good. But, yeah, I mean, I don't care if George Martin did arrange them. I mean, they're still very good, and I like that song. And there's a lot of songs I don't mind. Like, I don't mind Back in the USSR. That's a standard sort of rock and roll progression, isn't it? So, I mean, that could be, Little Richard or someone like that. But you know, I like that song. If it's rock and roll, you can't really dislike it. I just don't like the way the Beatles make music, I'm afraid, and that's a great shame for me. But anyway, I'm going to get abuse for this, but this is my personal opinion and my analysis of the Beatles. And today has been a Beatles day for me. I've been going through listening to their songs, and you know, sort of, I'm absolutely certain the main thing I don't like about the Beatles is their lack of energy, the fact they can't rock, and the fact the drums suck all the life out of the song. So basically, if you did a cover of them, it might be okay. And I've listened to a few Beatles covers, and they're not bad. I mean, I don't object to them at all. So maybe what I need to do is to when next time I'm jamming with a band, we need to do some Beatle covers, you know, and I'll make sure I know if I'm drumming, I will put the drum beat right at the front of the song, right early on the beat, and see if that improves everything. Anyway, these are my thoughts on the Beatles. It's still raining, so I'm still stuck in my car. I mean, I could probably, well, you know, I could probably talk for another 20 minutes if I had to, but I think that's enough for one day. I hope you found that interesting, and please feel free to object. This is just my subjective opinion, and you know, I think the Beatles suck. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.